There are four main things I want to talk to you about today for creating collaborative competence within your team. The first is noticing virtual fatigue. What should you be looking for? The second one is cultivating virtual intelligence. How can you look around and understand what your team is thinking and feeling and doing? Third, applying extrasensory techniques. How do you now take action to improve your team? And lastly, how do we create virtual collaborative competence? We need our team to feel extremely confident and productive in a virtual session. Here's the mirror we're going to be using to talk about collaborative competence within teams. We're going to start off with noticing virtual fatigue. Let me zoom in on that. All right, so there's a lot we can do to help notice the state of our team, how they're doing. I think it's important to embrace visceral states. It's all right to feel emotion. It's all right to be tired. It's all right to be fatigued. Embrace that in your teams. You can also apply deep listening. Listen with all your heart. Pay attention to what they have to say. I think that is very helpful for virtual fatigue. Schedule a meeting strategically. Don't have them back to back, and give people time and space between their last meeting. Conversation starters are helpful. Get people talking amongst themselves, not just between the facilitator, but also those in the virtual room. I use calm colors and landscapes whenever possible. The fearful mind is linear and reductive. And that's why you have to develop this environment where people are calm, where they're open, when they're conversing, when there's a degree of playfulness. Because positivity leads to positive emotions and allows them to build up their psychological immune system. You become more robust, more durable as a human. It's very good for virtual wellness overall. We want to create a empathy-centered environment by sharing human stories, sharing what people are working on, what their individual priorities are. And we want to check in throughout, not just in the beginning, but throughout. Ask people how they're doing. Are they engaged in the work? Is it helpful? Does it make sense? Those types of check-ins throughout are really, really valuable. And lastly, as a facilitator, lead with vulnerability. Here is a mural that we like to use to assist in that work. It's the project kickoff. We're able to share what we're working on, getting to know each other. Typically, we use visual elements to help with that. And we close with hopes and fears. What are you most hopeful? What are you most fearful of? We discuss that in the session. Next, we're going to be talking about cultivating virtual intelligence and what we can do as facilitators to help with that. First off, we should be looking for native social interaction. Are individuals conversing easily with others in the room? I'm speaking about not the facilitator. Are they comfortable in communicating? Do they feel safe to communicate amongst themselves? Uninterrupted silence. Is there awkward periods of silence? That can be indicative of people not feeling psychological safety. What is the percentage of on-time attendance? Are they showing up to your meetings on time? Are they coming back from breaks on time? What is their empathy waveform? Are they quick to anger? We need to be listening to tone. Tone tells us everything. What is the cursor velocity of folks in the room? Are they hanging out on one side of the mural? Are they not moving around? How energetic are those cursors? That can be indicative. Also, we have vote latency. How long does it take for individuals to complete a vote? Is it always the same? Is it mixed? Is everyone slow? That can be a heuristic on how engaged and how emotionally involved participants are in your session. Ideation volume. Are they coming up with a lot of ideas? Are they participating actively? Volunteer reluctance. When you ask for a volunteer, does anyone raise their virtual hand? You have to call them out. If you have to do that, there probably is an issue there. Either they don't understand, or they're not excited about it, or they don't understand the value of that work. That needs to be addressed. Walk the aisles, the virtual aisles all the time. Get a sense of when the tone of the room is changing. And that way you can adapt to it. There are signals everywhere. Signals being, how are they positioned on the screen? Are they looking at the computer? Are they looking away? Are they leaning in? Are they leaning back? Are they moving around? There's a lot of visual cues which you can look for if you just pay attention to them. And that can help us as facilitators get all the value we can out of that session. And lastly, observe all sources of expression. Everything I just talked about and more. Bring it together holistically and figure out, how can I change? How can I squeeze out all the value of this session? And one mural that we use to help with this component is this empathy persona map. Instead of having the persona being a specific person you're trying to solve for, I would have the persona in the center be the archetype of the room. We could have everyone in the session at the beginning, express what they're thinking and feeling. What do they see? What do they say and do? What are they hearing? And what are their pains and gains? Using an empathy map for that session, for the archetype of the room, helps us get that virtual intelligence that we need. Once you've developed virtual intelligence, the next step is to apply extrasensory techniques. First is establish a giving culture. As facilitators, we need to model the behaviors. Giving means sharing, means helping, doing whatever you can to make other people successful. Also consider the meeting golden ratio. I think many of us have heard the rule to have a 2 pizza number of participants in a room. Well, maybe you want to have a 1 pizza rule for a virtual session. Reduce the number of people down because it's harder to communicate in virtual. And when you have those smaller sessions, they're more intimate, they're more collaborative, they're more productive. Outsized acts of kindness wherever possible. Make it your culture. Begin with what you agree with. That's a great way to start. Applaud with what you want. And develop that deep trust. When you're not together, when you're in a virtual space, you have to work harder to develop that deep trust. You can do it through these methods. Well, with visual claps, you can give a thumbs up. You can use emojis in Zoom. You can clap. There's a number of things you can do. You can put your hands in the air. Find those visual claps because that'll help you develop the culture and agreement. It'll help people feel comfortable and engaged and happy. And that's huge. Then you're able to get that emotional alignment that you're looking for. And as leaders and facilitators, after we get out our hopes and fears, etc., it's important to radiate calm, gain frame control. That frame control allows us to control the session and not let it get out of control. Now, sometimes it's useful to do a walkabout and explore certain questions and ideas, but ultimately we need to be in control and control the room and control the virtual session. That may involve emotional refactoring. If you find that the mood in the room is not right for the methods, you have to consider what you're going to do next. You may have to skip on to other methods. You may have to scrap it all together. You may have to stay on one particular method. You may have to reschedule. Consider the fact that that session may not go exactly as planned because the moods may not be aligned for those objectives. And fear setting is a good way to address problems and allow you to get to work. And that's why I think fear setting is a great practical exercise we could all use. Here is a mural. We start off with purpose because purpose basically is the foundation of everything. And then we clarify what are the people and the roles, what are the common goals that we have, what are the values we have, what are the rules and activities, needs and expectations, personal goals that we have, the strengths and assets, and the weakness and risks. This is a team canvas that we use to hold the hand of our virtual participants and apply the extra sensory ability to get everything we can out of that session. Once you've mastered virtual extrasensory techniques, the final step is to create virtual collaborative confidence with your team. Some of the best ways to do that include elevating the self-efficacy of your teammates. You can do that through guided mastery, showing them what's possible. You can also rotate leaders. Facilitators don't always have to lead from the front. You can lead from the back and from the sides. That gives people collaborative confidence. Utilize yes and. Build on the idea of others. Don't break them down. Incentivize wild ideas. At IBM, we refer to those as wild duck ideas. And we actually have pictures of wild ducks all over our collaborative spaces. That helps create a collaborative culture. Amplify curiosity in others. Have them ask questions. And as leaders and facilitators, we should be asking questions of them. Be interested in each other. That creates a culture of trust and support and understanding. We should also be creating collaborative leadership. We should demonstrate that being a leader is being collaborative. It's not being the brilliant genius. It's about elevating others, making others successful, and making others' ideas successful. We should be doing that. Best way to achieve that is through deferring judgment, creating that safe place, the social playground for ideas. Setting the bar low is very valuable. Make it easy, low barriers to come up with ideas. Nothing is too silly. Nothing is too basic. That's the way to come up with the best ideas and develop that collaborative confidence within the team. Open inquiry, trying to find out what's behind ideas. What is the source of it? That allows you to join your teammates where they are, understand them, understand their ideas, everyone to build off some ideas. And lastly, conversational matching. It shouldn't just be a couple people leading the conversation or leading the ideas. Everyone should be participating. And if they're not, ask them to join in. Push them to come up with their best ideas. That's how you create collaborative competence. Up next, I'm going to show you some methods that IBM uses to develop virtual collaborative competence. Here we have the IBM Enterprise Design Thinking Loop, and the loop stands for Observe, Reflect, and Make. And how we instill collaborative confidence and virtual collaborative confidence is that we make sure everyone understands what it means to do design at IBM. So we are extremely clear and transparent of what that observe, reflect, make means. What does it mean? And when everyone's on board and everyone understands it, it allows us to be more productive and effective. Also, here are some enterprise design thinking pro tips that we use for establishing the ground rules. First is to talk less, write or draw more. There are no bad ideas. Stay focused on our users. Our users are the North Star. Use yes and to build on ideas. Stay engaged. Our job is to keep everyone engaged and help each other and help team move forward overall. So there's a strong sense of belongingness and teaming. Here, with the enterprise design thinking loop and our design methodology, we're able to clearly articulate to those participating in the session on where we're beginning, where we're ending, what's in between. And that creates confidence from our participants and designers that we're going somewhere and this is going to lead to a great result. But people start believing in the result from the very beginning because it's set up well. So when we start working in the loop together, we develop assumptions and questions, come up with an assumption grid. We build an action plan together. We do some stakeholder mapping, understanding who are the most important people, aligning on what personas or archetypes are essential. We think about the hopes and fears, come up with a research plan together. And that involves a timeline. We describe the types of people that are important in understanding. Then we synthesize the research and make sure we're not looking for false patterns together. We develop an empathy map, scenario maps, and know what are the components of the doing, the thinking, and the feeling, and the steps. Then we develop needs statements. We have a series of prompts to do that. Then big idea vignettes, thinking 10x, diverging as a group. That's something we do. And then back to the other side here, we think about prototyping together and delivering on those big ideas. We also have an impact grid that we work on together. We consider the future in the 2B scenarios. We figure out how to prototype it out. Is it a paper prototype? Is it a service blueprint? Is it a wireframe? Is it all those things? Is it none of those things? But how are we making it real? That's a conversation we have as a group. And then we refine through feedback. We have a cognitive walkthrough. We think about that feedback visually within a grid. We prioritize all our actions and things we want to accomplish for user outcomes. We discuss the cupcake, birthday cake, and wedding cake stages for the experience-based roadmap. And then we play that back and we align around user outcomes. We invite stakeholders and we tell our story together. And that's what we do as IBMers. And that's how we develop virtual collaborative confidence together. I hope everything I showed you today helps you deliver and recognize virtual collaborative confidence. I invite you to look for virtual fatigue within your teams. It is a problem, but not one that you cannot overcome through virtual intelligence, developing that empathy for the virtual room, and developing extrasensory techniques. When you do all these things, you will be able to develop your mural imagination. I wish you more than luck. See you next time. This is Lee Duncan.